Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you brought your waiters and have cracked open a beer because today we are in the swamp. Welcome to Central Florida and welcome to one of the best airfield turned racetracks in the world. The bumpy, jumpy Sebring International Raceway is our host for the third round of the RCI Prototype Sprint Series. Our drivers have 1 hour of racing ahead of them behind the wheel of their chosen LMP2 or LMP3 machinery. This isn't just any normal Sebring race, though, because today's event is held on the infamous school circuit layout. And when I say infamous, I mean none of us here on the broadcast team were aware this layout even existed. It's 2 miles and 6 turns of clockwise action, where any overtake will most likely require a lot of forethought and even more commitment. I'm Jack Mays, joined by the wonderful Callum Kerwin. We also have the magnificent man on the cams, Cormac Malloy, as our broadcaster and director. We missed you guys last week as we had a massive technical error right at the 11th hour, but I must say it is good to be back. Mr. Kerwin, did you get everything fixed? Are you ready to roll with us today?
We're ready to roll. Fixed, maybe we'll have to wait and see. It was a Windows problem that prevented my computer from booting, and apparently just being left for a week and then restarting it yesterday just seemed to work. So if I disappear, well, pray for me because I'm gonna have to do a whole Windows reinstall. But no, for now we are live, we are working, everything is going well. I'm interested to see that you say that this is one of the best airfield racetracks when Silverstone exists. So are you saying Sebring's better than Silverstone?
I said one of the best. I like Sebring more than Silverstone, but I think the vast majority of people would disagree with me. That's why I said one of the best. I also, this is one of my home circuits. I'm a couple hours down the road from Sebring, so it's special to me in that way. But it's let's say it's probably the best airfield turn racetrack in the U.S. because there's not another one that I'm aware of besides Sebring. So I think that at least counts for something. I think practice just ended, getting ready for qualifying, and before the cars roar out, the LMP3 cars roll out. I'm going to run through our race results from last week, our top three, since we weren't here, and it helps to get a little bit of context of what happened last week. Starting with our P2 finishers, Jamie Van Effrink was actually the winner of that race, with George Barr in second place, and Peter Varga rounded out the top three. That might have been the only 3 cars that ended up finishing that race. This was at the Bahrain paddock circuit, and it seemed to have a lot of a heavy attrition rate, which maybe seems to be a bit of a theme for this entire series. It's all about a race of survival. In the LMP3 category, Mathieu Kasperczyk makes it 2 for 2 so far in this season with a victory. Joe Dauber in second place, finishing only 0.48 seconds behind. So it must have been an absolute blinder of a finish because Richard Whittle, who was in third, only finished 2 seconds behind that pack. And that's a mighty close gap after 45 laps of racing. And for our standings in the championship, our LMP2 leader is George Barr, who is sitting at 70 points now. It's sort of as he's been the only of the LMP2 cars to finish both of our 2 rounds. He's got a healthy lead, a healthy gap to Jamie Van Effrink, who's in second place on 40 points, who is tied equally with Flo Scubb, our winner from round 1. At 40 points as well. We have Peter Varga in fourth with 30 points. Freddie Merrily at 26 points in fifth. Michel Menes Rodriguez in sixth with 23 points. Thibaut Ross came in seventh with 20. And Ryan Gill in eighth with currently no points on the board. For our LMP3 cars, we have Mathieu Kasperczyk. I mean, he's won both races. It would be very difficult for him not to be leading this championship at this point. But he's also in the unique position that George Barr is in, as he's the only car that's also finished both races. Joe Dauber's in second, tied with Louis Curtin, both at 35 points. Milan van der Weyken is in fourth position with 30 points. Richard Whittle, same deal, 30 points, tied with Milan van der Weyken. And Matt Malcolm is at 0 points, as well as Reese Wilkinson. So a couple, there's some swings that can happen in this championship for sure. It seems like finishing is the goal. for a lot of these drivers. And in practice, you saw some of that, Callum, where drivers going a bit deep, a bit wide, a bit spinny, round and round. It's only 6 turns, but it seems like a lot can go wrong.
Yeah, obviously, like the way this circuit differs is with turn two. So a lot of drivers we saw locking up going into turn two because usually they'd be going straight on for a little bit longer and then braking and turning left. This time they come out of turn one and immediately have to think about turning right immediately to go for the cut through, and then they come back out sort of on the tail end of the circuit, uh, sort of take the wiggly kink up towards Le Mans, go down the back straight, and then come through Sunset as we see Mathieu Kasprik coming through to set a lap, runs right up to the outside wall, and still only good enough. Oh no, he jumps up to second. It just took a little while for it to update. So still 7 tenths off Kinder though on pole position so far. And then we've got Matt Malcolm in fourth. I believe those are the only 4 cars running. I don't think Van der Veken's out on track, Jack, is he?
Not as we are aware. LMU, one in its infinite quirkiness, it basically pulls the driver lineup directly from the SimGrid signups, whether those cars are actually here or not. The only way to sort of know that they're in the race is whether they've driven onto circuit. And Van der Weken in the practice, we didn't see him. In the qualifying, we have yet to see him. Maybe he'll show up before the race starts. Who knows? But Louis Kinder is as far as I'm aware, is a new sign up to this championship. And already, if this lap and a half, 2 laps of qualifying pace is anything to go by, the fight is really being taken to our championship leader on paces. A 101.4 is already put down by Louis Kinder. These cars are going to get quicker and quicker as the temperature comes up. The warm up is brutal in the LMP3 cars. But Kinder going a bit wide there, probably invalidating that lap or just losing enough time there and enough, getting the tires dirty, similar to what Maciej Kasperczyk just did. A little bit of a trip through the grass, a little bit of dirtying of the tires, but carries on like nothing really happens. And the time will come to these cars. The circuit is so short and so fast that maybe a 1 minute is possible, maybe a 59 if these guys really start to fly. I know for a fact that the LMP2 cars will be closer to 50 seconds than they are to 1 whole minute. These are the unrestricted LMP2s that we're running here, as it's the ELMS specification cars, which I said it in round one, and I'll say it again. I'm really interested to see how fast the unrestricted LMP2 cars are when hypercars are around. No, hypercars are certainly faster, but on certain circuits with certain setups, I think there might be a little bit of a fight between the two of them. But we're now on board Joe Dauber, who's sort of dropped into his third place for the moment, improves slightly, but not enough to jump Maciej Kasperczyk or Louis Kinder. The funny thing is with qualifying with only a couple cars, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, Callum. It's more about getting comfortable before the race than it is about starting because there's only 4 of them.
Yeah, it's effectively just a 10-minute test session almost, and if if you do really well in the test session, you end up starting 5 meters, 10 meters further ahead than the guy you maybe half a second off or a second quicker than or whatnot. So there's not really a massive amount to gain through these guys, but it will be valuable for these guys to see how the car warms up and how the tire comes in, etc., and to learn sort of along those lines of what car can do in the early laps. Is Joe Dauber learning that the car can't do that, takes it for a spin and clouts into the barrier. That's going to be that lap in the bin. He should still have enough time to get out and do another 1 or 2 maybe, but off my rough sort of back of my phone sort of math on my calculator, that means that if they're sort of 7 seconds faster, then they're going to be lapping the LMP2s, these cars, every sort of maybe 7 or 8 laps. They're going to be lapping P3s roughly, at least to start with. Obviously the field might spread out a little bit later, but yeah, it's going to be a very, very busy race. Unfortunately, we don't have a massive amount of drivers. I think we've got 4 in the P3 and 7 or so in the P2. Obviously, it is normally Wednesday championships that are a bit quieter. It's quite hard for people to find the time, especially if they are already racing on Monday and Friday, like some of these guys do. But it's nice to see that these guys are giving the Wednesdays a chance. I know we've got some championships coming up as well. I know a new Monday championship got announced to replace the Audi Academy. So that's going to be, I think, the Porsche Cup, isn't it? Porsche Sprint Cup. So that's open for sign-ups, I believe, already, and then starts in mid to late November off the top of my head. I'll have to double check the schedule and we'll let you know. But so far, yeah, Louis Kinder is a second and a bit, a good chunk ahead of these guys. I mean, he's got to be confident about the race coming up if this is the pace so far in qualifying. I know the warm-up does take a big effect, but he's getting quicker as the other guys are getting quicker. You know, it's not like he's gone out and set a very, very quick lap to start with. It's a bit sort of out of type of an LMP3 to set a quick early lap. He's building up the pace as well as these guys. So as Casper goes to within half a second, so it might be a little bit closer up at the top than we think. And obviously these guys will have to manage letting the P2s come through as well on such a short circuit. But so far, so good for him. Kasperczyk 2.5 tenths up as well. So it just, you can see on the especially the camera feed on the helicam shot how twitchy these cars are to drive, especially sort of in the earlier parts of a stint, as he ran a little bit wide there. So I think that probably invalidated, and he's going to have to reset. He doesn't have time for another lap, does he, Jack?
No, it doesn't have more time for sure. But yeah, no, as you're saying, it is sort of impressive how these cars are building up pace. I almost think that if this qualifying session was maybe 5 minutes longer, I wonder, what lap times they could find if they could find a little bit more time, if those gaps would come too. But Thomas Walters electing to go out early, which is not how that's supposed to be done. This is his 4th lap on circuit. He's about to cross the line for lap number 5. That's not supposed to be happening. It's supposed to be split qualifying, 10 minutes per class. Maybe Thomas didn't get the memo. This actually happened during this past Friday when we were in Interlagos. There was a Peugeot that started driving around while the GT3s were qualifying. They did end up going back. They didn't really set a representative time, but unfortunately, there's not a whole lot. We don't really have any sort of live stewards or anything that can do much about this. Maybe a post-race penalty if somebody wants to call him out on it. I'm not sure, but it is
I'm going to go
advantage.
I'm going to go delve into the rules and see if I can find anything on this while you comms the LMP2 qualifying. Give me a minute and I'll see if I can find if there's anything in the rule set about it.
I will do. Yeah, I mean, I as far as I'm aware, it is mandated that it's a split qualifying, but I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule about it. But Walter's using that extra 3, 4, 5 minutes of time on circuit to great effect. Nearly, it was a interesting, almost sort of wanting to pull over onto a strange one, but I'm sure he's just gonna go back. Maybe take that reset. Or possibly sit out those 5 minutes. Maybe Walters realized what he sort of did wrong. But let's go on board here for a lap with Michel Rodriguez. It'll be sort of my first time seeing what these cars really can do at full chat on full qualifying. But turn 1, as we all know and love, is tough. It's difficult. It's unique in that there's not really a T1 quite like it on another circuit. This would have been T2. Very deep, very late on the brakes for Michel Rodriguez. Very, very fat lockup to go with it. So those tires are going to be in a bit of worse shape than they would have been otherwise. But here we are through turn 4, which is Genderbien, or Genderbien, I believe is how it's pronounced. Very weird name. Don't know where that's from. Maybe someone needs to open a history book and maybe check it. But yeah, that's Genderbien, and then here we are into turn 5, Sunset. Another very unique corner, super bumpy. And sometimes don't understand how the real cars can deal with 12 hours punishment going through Sunset. But yeah, Michelle Rodriguez puts in a 102. There's seconds, minutes more time within this car, and obviously those mistakes sort of wrecking havoc on that lap time. And we'll stay on board for another one, see if things get put together. I mean, a much cleaner turn one, much cleaner turn two. And car pulled over to the side. Not 100% sure who that was, but this is turn four. Still turn four. It's not actually a separate corner of Gendebien, then through Le Mans here. You want to take as much of that inside curve, but it's a delicate balance on not pushing the car wide. But now down the Ullman straight towards turn six. This is really where overtaking is gonna happen. If I were to guess, Michelle Rodriguez now going through Sunset as we hear that Mr. Walters got DQ'd from qualifying. This was the same thing that happened on Friday. I think maybe we have somebody in the wings. Could be Ryan Gill. He is the server manager. Maybe came in and went boop, DQ'd from quali. So that's going to be Walters starting from the back of the pack in qualifying. Obviously, not as big of a grid, not as big of an impact, but it's a statement, to those other drivers of, hey, we have rules for a reason. Let's do our best to follow them. Is now taking a peek at our YouTube chat. I see the one, the only, Mr. Kevin Boss hitting us with a meow, which I agree. Lots of neumes. This is definitely a circuit for neumes. And good to see Kevin. You're here. I wish you were in the car.
I'm wondering if Kevin might have issued the DQ. I'm not sure.
That would be difficult. I don't believe Kevin Boss is at home right now, so I think that would be a bit difficult.
He might be away from home. I was just going to say I did find the rule set, which obviously says that they can either do disqualification, time penalties, or do a grid penalty for the next race. So obviously, if someone didn't catch it before this race started, it would probably have been a grid penalty for a future race. Or being disqualified from the race or the championship is also an option. So basically, the rules say that the stewards can pretty much do whatever they see fit, depending on how bad the indiscretion is. But obviously, someone's gone in there and said, nope, naughty boy, can't do that. DQ'd him from qualifying, which is right by the rules. Obviously, it's not a massively unfair advantage, especially with, as you were saying before, on how long these cars can take to warm up. That these guys, an extra 4 laps even would massively impact the overall result, as we see. Badowski is spinning round. I think a lot of people are struggling with locking, from what I've seen in the chat that they have for this series, where everyone's struggling with locking and everyone's struggling to find time jack, because apparently no one's improving apart from Malima.
Yeah, Malima, as our broadcaster Cormac in our ear was talking about, how nobody's improving, and because of how things work, always it's going to happen. As soon as somebody says it, make him look like a total dingus. So nice work there, Cormac.
I have a scary announcement, Jack. Kevin Boss did do the disqualification, and he can do it from anywhere in the world from LMU.
That's terrifying to think about.
I'd be frightened if I were one of these guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, Kevin can and will find you. Kevin is also a pilot as well, so maybe he'd either find
Hopefully
you.
he wasn't doing that on the job.
That would be even better.
Is he just turned autopilot on, turned the free Wi-Fi on the plane onto his phone, and DQ'd him? Because I'd respect it, honestly. Because he's watching the stream. We can tell he's obviously must be watching the stream as George Barr goes wide. But yeah, so if he's watching this while Kevin, please don't do that. That's probably against a rule somewhere. But yeah, Kevin can DQ you no matter where he is in the world, unless he's in the air.
Well, good thing I'm here and not in the race car, because I think just out of spite, Kevin would come along and slap me on the wrist with a penalty, and I probably would deserve it, if I'm honest. Just for the things I get up to. Pre-race, post-race, the things I say. Nothing terrible, but I don't know. I rein it in. I get reined in when I am here on broadcast. That's for absolute sure. The Floridian in me really That can't be helped. But Dive, as we've been sort of yapping about the powers that be, the Kevins, the bosses, George Barr briefly jumped up to the top of the list, but immediately got pipped by Menace Rodriguez. So it's a fight for the pole position in the LMP2 category for sure. George Barr, lightning first sector, 2.5 tenths to the good of what anybody else has done on the first sector, using all the road. The car just sort of floating over these bumps. Not a huge improvement sector two, but not losing that much time either. I mean, still up by almost 2 tenths of a second. If Sunset can be done well, that's basically all that sector three is. This car's just jumping, bumping, barely staying on the road, but looked pretty clean, looked pretty successful. We'll see what the time is across. It is an improvement, but not enough. 1 tenth behind Menace Rodriguez there. It's only time for 1, 2 more laps, depending on where these drivers are on circuit. So I think we have a bit of a fight on our hands, Callum.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to see that the gap between P2s and P3s isn't as big as we thought it was going to be. It's only sort of around the 5 odd second mark. So I think the P2s were doing low 100s, 101s, wasn't it? So it's about 4 or 5 seconds. So might be a bit more of a spread out race than we thought. The P2s might not have as much traffic to deal with, but George Barr's going again. He's already through sector 2 and approaching sector 3 with a rate of knots. So that's a good thing about this track, is that you can commentate on one lap and immediately pretty much have another one ready to go. So we'll see what he can do with his second to last lap as he crosses the line. Goes nearly 4 tenths clear, so good statement there from George. Nearly breaks into the 55s, and Michel Rodriguez starting his their last lap, I believe.
Definitely. I mean, not enough time to. Oh, that was a briefly backwards car. Not sure who that was, but Michelle did well to steer clear. That might have actually been George Barr. So George Barr's time, that's what we're getting, a 56.047 from George Barr. Michelle Rodriguez with improvement, but not a purple sector one, but that's most of that gap that's missing. Oh, but sector two is not the quickest. Already back down. Currently, Michelle Rodriguez has to basically gain about 3.5 tenths, oh, closer to 3 tenths in one corner. Let's see, it's do or die through Sunset. Well, that was close to the wall on the inside, taking a super narrow line, sort of electing to maybe compromise the exit just to make that corner quicker. It's quicker in the third sector, but it's not quick enough. The gap down to 3.5 tenths. See, I don't think anybody else is improving. I don't think anybody else is left on the circuit. Actually, it's just Marco Badowski, but Badowski is improving. Badowski could jump up a position or two, maybe to P4, depending on how Sunset goes for Marco. Marco getting ready to cross the line. A short run from the final corner to the line. It is a bit of an improvement, and it is P4 for Marco Badowski. So quite only a second and a half, on a circuit that's as short of this, that is as short as this, is a bit of a gap. But for drivers that this is probably some of their first time ever on this circuit, on this weird school circuit layout, it's good to see that there's not a lot of time between both classes. I think we're gonna bring up qualifying results, perhaps. If we get the qualifying results, maybe we'll get that in 2 seconds. Uh, there we are. There's our qualifying results. There we are. Qualifying results for the LMP2 cars. George Barr, as we just saw, put in a really, really solid final lap, doing about 3.5 tenths of the good of Michelle Rodriguez, who is in second. Jelmer Malema in third place. Marco Badowski fourth, that final lap, putting it in, gaining a few jump of positions. Peter Varga in P5, Thibaut Roskam in P6. When I said this was only the LMP2 qualifying, it was actually our whole field today, 10 cars, but it's a short circuit. We'll still have a great race. Louis Kinder coming from unknown to known now, going ahead and putting a solid gap, about 5 tenths, to Maciej Kasperczyk, who's starting in second in the P3 field. Malcolm in third position, and Joe Dauber in fourth. I think I gotta say the gap to leader from the P3 cars. I'm really surprised to see that the LMP2 cars don't have a lot more time in them. I mean, there's a reasonable amount of straights, and these P3 cars are not fast in a straight line in comparison to the raw speed of the uh, unrestricted LMP2 cars. So a definite surprise there, but a good qualifying session. I think if that's anything to go by, I think we got a bit of a race on our hand, a bit of a race on our hands. I think race of attrition as this series has been. I think whoever manages to finish out of this small pack is in for a good points haul. Maybe no DNFs today. I'm just saying. Maybe that's a thought. I don't know, Callum. What do you if you were to put your money on what do you, if you had to bet? You know your real world cash. Would you bet on the all 10 cars finishing?
No, absolutely not. We haven't had that happen yet in this series, and I think with the nature of this circuit and the amount of mistakes we were seeing in practice and even in qualifying as well, we had cars backwards spinning in qualifying and the same in practice as well. So I feel like we're definitely going to have at least one car have some kind of issue. I say that now, and there won't be anything that happens. So as we cut to the starting grid animation, obviously the same order that we read out before, but a chance to look and see what liveries all the guys have chosen. Now I'm gonna say that's Tajar in the YouTube chat has said that they bet less than 50% of the people finish. We've also had good looks going out to Matche, Kashprik, and Michelle Rodriguez saying that they're going to try and keep it out of the wall this time. So maybe stop watching YouTube, although please continue watching YouTube, and maybe focus on the track. That might help a little bit. But I'm looking through. I really like Matt Malcolm's livery. I don't know if that's just an in-game default. I'm not hot on my WEC ELMS liveries, but I really like that livery. I think it looks really cool. But we'll see what happens. But
I can tell you that
it's
that
Dorber.
is an in-game livery.
It's
That is in fact
Tadja is actually Dorber, but he says he doesn't know why this name comes
Oh,
up in YouTube. But that must be
well
the
there we
Google
go.
account or something name or whatever. But yeah, so Dorber's betting. If a person who's driving in the race says that he reckons less than 50% of the people will finish, I think that probably says the level of confidence these drivers have in driving this circuit. Obviously, it's not a very well known circuit in terms of it's not really been used. Well, it hasn't been used at all before in RCI, but it's not a massively used circuit. Obviously, I think when this class of car comes here, they usually race on the full layout, but we thought we'd try something different with this series and run a lot of the shorter circuits and the alternate layouts. But yeah, it creates some interesting racing because these guys aren't used to it. Obviously, a lot of racing is flow in the car and the feeling of that, but it sort of breaks it up a little bit. I've found. I know when we did some races on Silverstone International last year that our driver found it really, really difficult with the cut through that you take from the first sector of the Grand Prix circuit into the hangar straight. So it does disrupt you a little bit, and finding that breaking point for turn two is going to be quite difficult. But all the cars are away so far. As we see the P2's obviously up at the front with the P3s following close behind Jack, and I'll let you take us through the race start this week. I think I did it last time, so you get a go.
I will do my absolute best. But yeah, short formation in LMU, no full formation lap. And this is a super short circuit, so it's a super duper short formation. Just waiting for the green flag now. All the pit limiters flashing, everybody waiting to hit their buttons. You get to see the whole grid in this shot. Are we green flag? Not quite yet. Any second now. We're nearing the line. That's green flag for the third round of the Prototype Sprint Series. Bar off to a good start. Rodriguez already entering middle circuit, going defensive immediately. Is Rodriguez going to try it around the outside of turn one? Rodriguez does. Now has the inside for turn two. Can you stay ahead? Oh, that's really deep on the brake from a P2 in the back. A bit of argy-bargy. Round goes George Barr. I think that was, you said Dauber in the background. Oh,
no, Varga,
that's
I think
Varga in the back. Apologies. Yeah, I misheard you there. Big shunt in the beginning, but I'm actually only surprised that that one car went around. George Barr, that's really tough for him. He's going to have to fight his way back through the field. That is our championship leader after all. But I got to say, Rodriguez around the outside of turn one, that's impressive on any day. And to do that, have that level of commitment, have that level of trust in this car, super impressive. But yeah, the field already getting super compressed. I think I see that. Oh, that's right, because Thomas Walters actually started in the back of the field as well, or maybe had an incident because he should have started with the rest of the P2 field. I think Thomas
No,
Walters being another car.
I don't think it was Varga. It was a black car with a red and white nose, but I'm not 100% sure. I think we will see a replay of it potentially. But
Yes.
Varga is struggling on the brakes. Though. I think behind him, Roscam went a bit deep into turn one there. Yeah, sorry, turn two. Getting my corners mixed up. He had a little bit of a wiggle from the front end of braking, so probably a little bit of rear locking. That suggests as we cut back to the first lap. I don't believe it was Varga. I saw a red nose come in through turn two, and I feel like I've seen Varga running a similar livery before. So it's the car on the inside there behind Varga right now on his left that has the incident. So yeah, it was Thomas
It's Thomas
Walters
Walters.
going
Yep.
into the back of, trying to work it out off the preview, but yeah, Thomas Walters went into the back, so got disqualified from qualifying and then had an incident on turn two of the race. It's not been a fantastic start to this series for Thomas Walters then, Jack.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I'm not 100% sure what car he ran into, but
Really well held,
fortunately,
really
I was
well
gonna
held by
say
whoever he ran into though. That's
extremely well held.
fantastic car control.
Yeah, I'm
Because that,
interested to see. We can see that again. That's Walters going in the back of. Oh, that's Shelmer Malema there.
it
See
might
this
have been
again
Manema.
from the onboard. Yeah,
Oh,
into the back. Just misjudged it. That was what we were seeing most consistently in the practice session. That would explain how Walters ended up back behind most of the pack. That's going to be a good chunk of front aero damage, which is going to make the rest of this race just not feel great. On a good day, Sunset's already difficult. Here's the fight now for the LMP3 lead at Maciej Kasperczyk already going wheel to wheel with Kinder there on the outside, too wide through Sunset. A little bit of a tap on the inside. Super impressive to pull that off. Every time I try to do that in an LMU daily race, I die. So great to see these drivers really pushing each other to the absolute limit. Louis Kinder, a little bit of a touch in the back through turn one. Now for turn two, both these drivers seeming to have the to be nice and comfortable in turn two, but Peter Varga still struggling big time in turn two. I mean, fortunately, not being in the way of the leaders just yet. We're going to get a quick replay to see what happened. Well, we may be in reverse, but that would be, looks like a little bit of a rear lockup there for Peter Varga. Tries to get it slowed down. Yeah, already loses it. Manages to actually keep it out of the wall and get it going back quickly. Fortunately, not dropping back behind the P3 field just yet. We'll have some P2 on P3 action in a handful of laps. Those gaps already climbing. Rodriguez already 20 seconds to the good of these two, which they're back yet again in Sunset, going for it. We'll see Kasperczyk on the inside, or sorry, on the outside. Does he hang it around? No, tucks in behind. Doesn't have the confidence. Maybe we'll go late on the brakes into turn two. Maciej does go for it. They're still too wide. A little bit of shoving, a little bit of getting onto the grass. Louis Kinder not wanting to back out. Now they're going through turn three into turn four, the funky named turn four, Genderbien. They do that, sort of S's idea into now Le Mans corner. The toe behind LMP3 cars is pretty strong on a lot of circuits. And we'll see here. We'll get a perfect example of what that toe can do. Actually, it doesn't seem to be doing too much. There's the overspeed beginning to happen, but they're already in the brake zone. Kasperczyk going on the inside, briefly having a lockup. Oh no! Louis Kinder touches the back of Maciej. Kasperczyk goes off just ahead. That's both the LMP3 leaders into the wall. Here comes Joe Dauber taking the race lead from those two drivers. Oh my Lanta. We're gonna we're gonna see that again. That was brave going into Sunset. Kasperczyk clearly
I
wanting to
think I
nail
think
that
Kasperczyk
inside.
caught a bump on the inside. You can
Yeah,
see
there
like
was
a
that
puff of
lockup.
smoke.
Yep.
Obviously, if he catches a bump and one front wheel goes in the air, you'll lock the other front there, and then that just runs him wide. And Kinder
Oh,
didn't expect him to be out that far wide because he was taking the inside line, and then obviously the touch on the rear end from Kinder just slowly sends the rear end of Kasperczyk round into the wall. He's got going again though. Kinder, I think, is he's completely out. That's not recoverable. He's showing up as a DNF on the screen anyways. But
yep.
Kasperczyk's probably got a bit of damage as well to fix potentially. But I believe that would mean Matt Malcolm leads ahead of Joe Dorber. So I think while that was going on, Matt Malcolm's overtaken Joe Dorber in the confusion. So Matt Malcolm, who said he was going to have a quiet race, tiptoeing around for an hour, he's now leading. So, but I mean, that's what this series does. We had that at Silverstone, didn't we, Jack? Where the people who won that race uh, in the categories, we would not have expected at all. It was very last minute, sort of it all chopped and changed around in the P2 class. But yeah, it really throws up different results just due to the incidents. As Thibaut Roskam is trying to defend from Walters. Obviously, Walters had that incident at the start of the race, but he's trying to get back up. And I think taking the outside line into turn one is probably a bit more favourable because normally you try and sneak it up the inside because then you have the inside line for the typical turn two, which turns left. But obviously with this circuit, with it turning right, and especially with the issues people have had under braking into turn two, I think you really want to be defending the inside line there because even if you go a little bit deeper, you can sort of run through the corner and take the apex rather than being on the outside. And if you're on the outside and someone goes deep, there's not a whole lot you can do about it unless you anticipate that it's going to happen. So good positioning from Thibaut Roskam, but we can see the toe in the P2 cars is probably a bit stronger than in the P3s as Walter closes back up going through Sunset, takes that sort of more outside entry, and Thibaut runs out a little bit wider on the exit, but it's pretty much matched through there, and they're being joined by Georgie Barr also recovering in the background there. He's creeping ever closer, so I think we're going to have a three-way fight for fourth, fifth, and sixth coming up soon. That's down the inside, and that's too late and too deep, and Thibaut Roskam is in the wall. I think that might be looked upon a bit harshly by the stewards. You can see what he's tried to do. He's tried to go down the inside and sort of run the corner out, but he's completely misjudged the entry and the braking, and just ran deep. People are really struggling with turn two, Jack.
Yeah, that was, as Martin Brundle says, a day late and a dollar short. That was a couple dollars short there on the brakes. As Matt Malcolm already getting under pressure for the lead. Joe Dauber deep into that corner, very confident on the brakes. But Matt Malcolm gets the better exit. Maybe he thinks about it into turn two. Doesn't this time. Maybe wants to hang behind, stay close as they go through. Because, I mean, by the time you get to turn five, if you're close on the back, if you're close enough, maybe you can get into the slipstream. But Joe Dauber just seeming to have the pace into Sector 1. Sector 2, they seem just about even. Malcolm actually seeming to be maybe a bit quicker mid-corner, but not having quite the exit on Dauber this lap. But yeah, that was...
I think Matt might know that Dorber might have a little bit more pace at the moment based on the qualifying results and what he said before the stream started. So I think that might be a bit more. It looked a bit more like he was letting some. Oh, that's a P2 gone very deep into the last corner. It looked like he
that was
was
a
letting him
P3, I
bar.
think.
Sorry, no, I think it was a P2.
That
It
was
was
a
a P2.
P2.
I
Ignore me.
recognise the nose, yeah, but I think he might have just. It looked a bit more like he was letting him by in turn one because he didn't run out that wide. And he took a wider sort of entry than the car ahead did of Joe Dorber. So I think it might be a bit more tactical of just let's stick behind you. Let's see what happens in this race. We've already seen that a lot of cars have had incidents or DNF'd or both. So, follow behind you and see where you're quick, see where I'm quick, and we'll deal with it from there. And I'll try and sort of maybe make a move in the last portion of the race. But we see the leaders coming through to lap these guys in the differing class. So we've got Rodriguez followed by Malima, not Malima or Maluma, apparently, as you were pronouncing it. But
Maluma
yeah,
is how
Malima.
you say it. Malima's wrong because Kevin Boss was bullying me for saying Malima. It's Maluma. Apparently, according to Kevin Boss, who is
Oh, yeah, I've read that
our
the wrong way around. It's Maluma.
yes, he is.
Okay.
He is my personal pronunciation coach. I default to
Yes.
him. So if he's wrong, if we're wrong, blame Kevin Boss. I think that's a good lesson for life. Actually, if something goes wrong, blame Kevin Boss. But
Insert channel where people can submit their names. Right,
agreed,
cut, done. Already done that
hundred
a
percent,
million times here on
hundred
RCI.
percent.
But yeah, you know it. We want it. Somebody please make it happen. Kevin, I don't know. Sort it out. Help us out because we need all the help we can get. Let's face it.
Yeah, I think it. Just to go back to that incident between Thibaut Roskam and Thomas Walters, that was just super unlucky for Thibaut. I mean, he was ultimately a passenger, um, and I mean, there's nowhere really for him to go, and it just happened to be that he got boxed into the corner of that wall, and it crushed the front of his car, probably absolutely nuked the suspension, and ultimately uh ultimately, just it's not worth finishing there. As I think we have maybe another turn two with Peter Varga. That this time on the exit. This is, I mean, a lesson in uh, how difficult, just changing one corner on a circuit, how difficult it can be to adjust for a driver. I mean, if it's not on the brakes, it's going to be on the exit. It's so narrow. When I looked at the track map when I was getting ready for this race earlier this week, I thought, I was like, oh, maybe turn two would be an overtaking opportunity, but I didn't realize how absolutely skinny it gets, and how narrow. I mean, that's, 2.5 cars wide, maybe. That's also considering that, your entry speed is quite high coming off of turn one. So now we're getting further grief from Kevin Boss, and it's actually Maluma. Maluma Kevin? Is that how we do things? Apparently, it is our fault. I disagree. I still think it's Kevin's fault. I just don't know how to read, and he should have known that that's one of my personal issues. But speaking of Maluma and Rodriguez, still Maluma absolutely keeping Michelle Menace Rodriguez honest there at the lead based on the qualifying performance. I mean, it was George Barr's day for sure, but I mean, obviously, turn two, Barr got tapped on the rear, lost it just a bit, but George Barr fighting back to the field, already cleared a couple of cars. The next one for him is Badowski, but if George Barr wants any hope of winning this race, see a brief yellow flag. As I do think that's steering damage, Cormac. I know you guys can't hear him, but I can. I think maybe a little bit of steering damage for Maluma there. Yeah, that's a little bit of left hand down on what would normally be a straight line. It could have been that Jelmer Maluma uh, got into the back of somebody as Joe Dauber actually DNFs. I think we're gonna get that. We're gonna pull that up on replay in just a second. But yeah, it seems like Maluma has a bit of steering damage. Maybe they went into the back of a car during that turn two melee at the very beginning of this race. We'll
Well,
see here. Oh,
Kasprich has
that's
overtaken Matt
oh
Malcolm. I was just about to
oh.
say Kasprich has overtaken Matt Malcolm. He was quite a way back. So I think this might have
Uh
been Matt Malcolm deciding he wanted to go through, or he's just followed Joe Dauber's mistake.
oh.
Oh,
So Joe
Dauber
Dauber
hits the
taps.
bump.
Yeah. Oh
Oh
no!
no!
No! No!
No!
Oh,
Oh, got it from Matt.
that's
He was running
so
so
unfortunate.
well. It's completely unintentional. Obviously, Dauber's just hit that bump in the middle of that we all know is in the middle of the final corner, and he had no control over where that car was going. And unfortunately, Matt went right, and he probably should have gone left. But cursed image.png LMP3 without a rear wing. I'm sure that's absolutely horrible to drive at the moment for this lap in, but we'll see if we can get
Oh,
fixed. Walter's going slowly. Joe Dauber's already apologising, so yeah. Sorry to see that happen, Dorber. It was obviously a mistake and a very unfortunate bump. But yeah, this turn 2 and 3 and that bump in the final corner are really causing a lot of problems with these cars. Maybe some guys running
Oh, desync. Desync.
a bit of desync and then loops it round but doesn't hit anything, I believe. Yeah, so it might be because of that damage. It looked like it was almost crabbing when he got away. That's why I was a bit concerned about him going slowly and it looking like it was crabbing. But I think it was just the counter steer because of trying to put the power down and get the thing moving. But yeah, gutted for Malcolm. But hold on, Kasprzyk is in the pit, so I think is he doing his stop? I'm very
Maybe
confused. Either he's had an
everything's.
accident somewhere or that's his stop. Because Malcolm is now in the lead of the P2s, P3s again. Yeah, he was
Ladies
in the
and
lead before the
gentlemen,
replay, but then he was showing up as second to Mathieu afterwards. Mathieu overtook him while they were both spun out. So either Mathieu's had an accident on his own and had to pit, or yeah, we don't know. We're just going to be
ladies
honest.
and gentlemen,
We have no idea.
welcome to Wednesday.
Yeah, it's his
Wednesday
scheduled stop.
championship is
It's
unique.
his scheduled stop because it's showing up as is his first stop in the pits. So it's his scheduled stop as Malcolm now pits to fix his damage. I assume he'll be able to do that and take his scheduled stop at the same time, so he won't have to come down pit lane twice. But I think this will end up putting him out behind Kasprzyk if my rough maths is correct. I don't think he'll be able to fix that car and get out back ahead. I'd be very doubtful if that would be the case. But Malima down in 4th. Has something happened there? I believe so.
It must have done because Malema was chasing down the leader briefly.
I can't see any damage on that car.
Doesn't look like it. I think we're gonna go replay hunting now. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Wednesday Championship, where everything breaks, everything is weird. We don't know what's going on. We're just here to have a good time. And we'll see. But what's interesting is Jomer is already well off the back of the leader of Rodriguez at that point. So it's a bit of a separate incident. All right, now we can see. Now we're back to the earlier lead fight because you see Badowski in the rear. But this was, see, a little bit of a hitch for Rodriguez. A big, okay, a bit of desync issues coming into to Sunset there. Malema still holding firm. Nothing terrifying has happened quite yet. We'll speed up to see. It's looped it in turn 2, carrying just too much speed for the rear of that car. Actually, it's a bit of a wiggle under braking. Doesn't get the car slowed down. Turn 2, taking another victim, and it seems like maybe a bit of a. That's a long wait for Maluma there. As there's our race leader, Maciej Kasprzyk, in the LMP3 field, keeping to the inside, staying out of the way of those LMP2 cars. It's going to be a lonely race for Maciej and for Matt Malcolm.
Well,
both
strangely,
cars.
I've been told that these guys didn't even. Well, obviously, Matt Malcolm did need to pit, but Kasprzyk didn't need to pit. It's not
Correct.
enforced in the regulations, and the P3s will do it easily, 75 minutes on a tank. So I'm a bit unsure on why he's pitted, unless he had some damage that he decided to fix, seeing the fact that Matt Malcolm was driving around with no rear wing.
Well, I know for a fact he did have damage. It was that very early incident between Kasprzyk and Louis Kinder. Kasprzyk went into the wall. Their rear went into the wall briefly. They didn't lose their rear wing, so Maciej kept going around. But after driving past Matt Malcolm without a rear wing, I think Maciej decided, well, let's make this race easier and safer. Let's fix the car. Let's, take a mental reset, because clearly this track is taking a lot from these drivers. Peter Varga, that's exit of turn 2 yet again. And I've also noticed that Marco Badowski briefly about a second and a half adrift from Menace Rodriguez is now 9 seconds back. So I think it's just whoever doesn't spin wins is what
Should we
we
now
are
cut
learning
back to the
here.
point where you said that you thought there was going to be no DNFs this race?
I honestly, so just to be transparent, I did not think that I knew there were going to be DNFs in this race. I was hoping that we'd have full field finish this. It's just,
It
this
looks
one though,
so
I've seen a couple of times.
It looks so
It's,
easy to loop. He's done nothing from a sort of a coaching point of view, apart from maybe carrying a bit too much speed or getting on the curb on exit. But you'd think the car would handle that with the way it drives around the circuit and the other bumps as well. So he's done nothing wrong there by the looks of things. It just seems to go round as Malima goes round again. But yeah, these cars almost seem undrivable on this circuit. They don't like Sebring at all. I know in Silverstone as well, they were a bit tricky to drive, but that's nothing on here. Like, we're just seeing people spin on their own as well with no pressure. Oh, that might not have been on their own.
I think it's just Matt Malcolm desperately trying to get temperature back into those P3 tires. I think Jumbler Maluma did. Ooh, there's sunset, and doesn't seem
Oh
to
no, it
be
was.
enjoyable with. Ooh. It's
Oh,
that was really close. Matt Malcolm
Malcolm
nearly just went 2 for 2 on being a passenger on the exit of Sunset.
into the same wall as well. That would
You
have
need
been
the same wall. I need a change of pants. Matt Malcolm probably needs a change of pants. That was just
holy.
mighty, mighty. We're gonna see that from Matt Malcolm's perspective. Oh, here's
Oh,
the
ignore
hitch
the
and smoke,
DC.
and all right, we're gonna go.
Oh, he thought he was in the wall, 100%.
Yeah,
There's no way he thought he was getting through that.
and it is interesting how on our replays, Sunset just seems to be. I will never not like tense up seeing that, but
The problem is it's sort of blind as well because of the
yep.
nature of the corner and how bumpy it is. You're not looking there effectively. You're not looking to the inside. You're looking to sort of slingshot around the outside. So when a car comes across and you have to go across, it's really hard to then judge whether the car's going to come all the way over to the other pit wall effectively, or is going to be, look how bumpy it is through there. That's the big bump that keeps catching everybody out through the apex. I know it's a very tricky bump on iRacing as well. I know a lot of people struggle with it. And there's a lot of differing lines in a lot of series, especially with cars that run quite low to the ground, thinking sort of the F4 cars, etc., things like that, as we see him come through turn one relatively safely, a little bit wide, straight on the brakes into turn two, a little bit of throttle and braking as well, probably to just help the rear stabilize a little bit, and then cuts back onto the twisty back section, middle section, sorry, of this circuit. It's the back section normally, but middle sector now. But yeah, it just seems so difficult to drive.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just an artifact of how the prototypes currently are in LMU. There's basically no rear slip angle to play with on either of these cars. I have had a reasonable bit of experience in both classes, mind you, not nearly as quickly as most of these drivers go around. And it's oftentimes it's very frustrating because you take it round. It was like what we saw with Badowski. How you're saying it didn't look like anything went wrong, and honestly, probably nothing did. It may have been 1% early on the throttle was enough to destabilize your rear axle to the point where it's all gone wrong, and it can be tough. I don't know if it's something that can be overcome naturally with a setup. I think it might be indicative of the physics of the car itself. Maybe that needs an update. I know about 3 4 months ago now, I guess the LMP2 cars were radically changed, and a lot of people said that it was for the worse initially. I'm not sure how drivers feel about it now. I never drove it at that point. And they're really really difficult machinery to drive. The P3s, when they're at their best, I think are one of the most fun cars in LMU. I thoroughly enjoy driving him. It sort of feels a little bit like a GTE car. And just as a note, that is not the fight for the lead. That is Mattia Kasperczyk actually coming to lap Matt Malcolm again. He was in the pit lane for quite a long time, and also has lost time entering the code brown zone. But yeah, the prototypes are phenomenal. I really like the type of car that they are. The LMP2, the sort of idea behind it. Yeah, let's stick a naturally aspirated V8 in a super lightweight, super high downforce chassis. I think it's fantastic. I love it, but maybe it's not quite in its best shape on this sim. Hopefully, maybe some people who design setups will learn to overcome that. I mean, many drivers, to be fair, have truly overcome that struggle. As Jello Maluma is entering pit lane, which I'm wondering if that's for more damage, or maybe Maluma didn't take fuel the first time, needing to take fuel. The P2 cars can't quite do an hour of driving. I think on some circuits maybe they can. This one's certainly not. There's too much. There's too much high speed. There's too much flat out driving. It's almost like Monza, where you're using just buckets and buckets of fuel a lap. As Thomas Walters now takes P4 from Maluma, but well, not the preferred line. I would argue, Callum.
Yeah, that's not the optimal line through there for sure. I think maybe a little bit of driver coaching in that corner potentially might be a good thing for it. But it's interesting how you say about the P2s. Obviously, they were a very different beast in the past. I had the pleasure of working on a previous gen, a 20. I want to say, I can remember this. It was a 2013 Pescarola P2. Malcolm's in the pits again.
He doesn't have a rear wing.
Oh, not again.
I think I
Cormac's going to
almost
go
saw
incident hunting. Is that on pit entry?
Well, the rear wing's already gone.
Oh, the rear wing's already gone, but he's spun on.
What do you think, Sunset?
Well.
I'm putting on money. I'm putting. Is it turn 1 or Sunset?
Oh, it's Sunset, but he had a spin in turn 1 as well. Oh, that might be with another car. Oh, that's Kasperczyk coming to lap him.
And we'll see here.
Kasperczyk's coming to lap him. It desyncs and then Malcolm crashes, but Kasperczyk looks like he goes through fine. So
yeah,
I think the contact is just desync, and then he's lost it on the entry into Sunset, which is, I don't think we've seen a car lose it on the entry. It's always been cars on the exit losing it through Sunset, but just maybe carrying a bit. It's hard to tell with the tool, with the desync in the tool, but I'm unsure on whether he did hit him or not. Cormac thinks he hit him, but I can't. I think he was too far back to hit him. I think he was too far back to hit him initially. Although, I don't know. Yeah, but I think his car reacts like that because he hits the bump and locks. But I'm unsure.
It's tough to tell.
It's really hard to tell with the way the tool was there. But Matt Malcolm not having the best race after leading previously. That's the spin through turn 1 because he has no rear wing, so he can't take any speed through there. He tried to take some speed through there. Good save, to be fair. Kept out of the barriers, which is impressive. But yeah, but no, back in the day they were very different beasts. Obviously, still think that one was a V8. Yeah, it was a V8, and then the same chassis they used as LMP1 cars had V10s. But it was a heavy beast. Like the jacks we had to use to lift it were massive, and you wouldn't want to run it over with your foot because it was a big old thing. Massive fat rear tyres. He has another issue into pit lane and has to Austin Powers it and get it back round. But he's going again, so quick job on just, I think, probably
he's getting these
the
points.
Damage, so
he's getting these points.
He's getting these second place points if it kills him. I think if this had happened at the start of the race, he probably wouldn't have bothered. The fact that there's only 2 cars running means he's like, nope, I'm determined. I'm just going to collect the points for second place. It doesn't matter how many times I crash. I'll just finish in second no matter what. So, but yeah, no, they're very different beasts. It was still thunderous animals like these unrestricted P2s are. I know a lot of people who attended the Silverstone LMS race were surprised on sort of how raw the sound and everything was. And I remember um, I can't remember the name of the Russian team that used to race SMP racing LMP2 car coming past the pit wall, and it sounded like a machine gun was going off when it came by. But yeah, no, they are very different animals to the old LMP2 cars, obviously closed cockpit, etc. But they are still rather difficult to drive. Um, Jack, you're going to tell us about some people that would help you with setups and driving, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, the cars might be difficult to drive, and gear might help you. And fortunately, we're partnered with a lot of great people who can provide you with a lot of great gear. Starting with Ready Set Sim. So if you want to build the sim rig of your dreams or your budget, you can work that out in seconds with the RSS Sim Rig Builder. I'm actually, as I'm saying that, Michelle Rodriguez wingless in this race. Fortunately, near the pit lane, but that's that's a lot of crabbing. Oh no, there it goes. Trying to keep it straight. Once you lose a rear wing on these cars, it's basically hopeless to drive. But that's race deciding there for Michelle Rodriguez. I'll get back to talking about the wonders of Ready Set Sim in just a moment, but turn two may have had its latest victim. Hard on the brakes. That's
Too much
just
speed.
too much speed and a little
Too
bit
much
of
speed.
locking in the rear on turn in.
Yeah, he's locked
That's
on the rear on turning because he's asked too much of the rear end because he's taking too much speed
yeah,
into the corner.
yeah.
But yeah,
You're
too much
absolutely
speed
right.
in. I think people are just really struggling with braking points at turn two. Um, yeah, it's so easy to make it. I feel like it's 1% too much speed and you're instantly round. There's no moment or twitch through turn two. It's you're either through fine or you're dead. But yeah, just a little bit too much speed on the entry. You've sort of almost got to tiptoe it through this section, I think, really to get the most out of it. Obviously, on qualifying runs, yeah, you can give it a go of trying to carry a bit more. But yeah, in race trim, especially with maybe a bit more fuel in the car and obviously the heavier weight at the back end, um, yeah, it's just tiny bit too much speed and it just turns itself around.
And we do have Michelle Rodriguez just dropped in the YouTube chat. Well, did not keep it out of the wall again. Well, to be fair, actually had suspension
Oh,
damage since lap 10. That might explain some of that sort of surprise on that snap there. To be fair, I think you might have been one of the only cars that had kept it out of the wall up until that point. I believe just about everybody on circuit up to this point has ended up in the wall at some point.
I
But
wonder where the suspension damage came from.
it's a great question, Michelle. If you're in the pits long enough, if you could let us know, that would be wonderful. But now that's a new leader in the LMP2 field. It's Marco Badowski has now taken the lead, but George Barr, as we know, very quick, came from the back of the field so far after the lap one turn two incident.
Oh, Marco went
I
round
think
as
we're gonna have
well,
a
didn't he?
fight. I believe Marco has gone around at some point. I think it's fair to
Yeah.
say everybody's gone around at one point or another. I think a little minor lockup there from Matt Malcolm there, just trying to stay out of the way of these P2 cars, and he almost got killed by one earlier, and doesn't really look forward to causing an incident yet again. See, Sim Badowski's gonna take it easy through one, coming past in a P2, but hopefully I can speak through all of our about all of our amazing partners before this uh, race for the lead unfolds. So, but as I was saying, Ready Set Sim, wonderful people. Big fan of going onto their sim rig building tool and building rigs I will never be able to afford. Very fun. Highly recommended if you're interested in that. Check them out. Link below. And for setups, Coach Dave Delta. Who else? Coach Dave can help you climb the ladder on any of your favorite sim racing titles with help from their apps, coaching, and setups, of course. And I think they newly announced support for AMS2, which is awesome. Love that sim. Well, hardly a sim compared to games like LMU, but love that game. Wonderful to see it getting some wonderful support. And always remember, lap time begins with Delta. And you can find out more about them in the link below. Also, special thank you to Green Man Gaming, where you can score huge savings on not just sim titles, but also on uh, most any PC game, including sim racing titles. Mathieu Kasperczyk, he may be in the lead of this race comfortably, but still having issues. Everybody's having issues. I think Matt Malcolm knows as well. If something goes really wrong with Mathieu Kasperczyk, is there Matt Malcolm is. Speak of the devil. If Mathieu DNFs this race, ends up back in pit lane, Malcolm could have this win, and this isn't for position. As a reminder, he is going to try to unlap himself. Maybe he thinks better of it. Uh, I think Matt Malcolm and Sunset are not a happy couple, to be sure. Man, those cars sure do bounce coming over that apex bump, that famous apex bump that most real life drivers just straight up avoid. But yeah, that's our background. But yeah, Green Man Gaming, great savings on PC titles, including brand new releases. Check them out. Of course, link below. Everybody I've talked about today, all of them you can find out all their stuff in the link below. Moser Racing, absolutely incredible quality direct drive hardware that especially doesn't break the bank. They do gear for racing, for trucking, and for flight sim, including their flight stick that also can be used as a shifter, which is madness. It's very, very cool. I would like to get one of those, but I'm broke. And Pimax, thank you to them. They provide class-leading clarity and resolution for their wonderful range of virtual reality headsets. They're actually the first company to put a 4K display in a headset, and I've heard whispers that they're working on a 12K headset, which is absolutely insane. You can learn more about them and perhaps score a little bit of a discount by visiting the link below. And finally, a extra special thank you to Motorsport UK for selecting us as recommended esports community. It's a great honor and a privilege to be on their short list. Thank you to all of our partners for their continued support. They let us do what we do, which is shout when cars crash into walls around Sebring. Well, at least that's what's happening today, at the very least. But Marco Badowski, I was hoping that gap would, shrink and I could beautifully change, section right into a fight between the two. But not quite, not yet. George Barr is chasing, though, Callum.
Yeah, he was closing a little bit quicker than he has. I think he's dropped back a little bit now, but Badowski coming through turn one, but not using all of the track, but deciding to get it in a straight line for the braking for turn two, and he seems to have gotten a little bit more comfortable with the car, as we say, a bit of a twitch on the exit, coming up to turn four now. So we see sort of using the curbs a little bit, obviously then back over the line to keeping two wheels on the inside of it though, to widen the entry onto the back straight and coming up towards Sunset. I feel like the P3s have been bouncing a bit more than the P2s. I don't know about you through here, but I feel like the P2s are maybe a little bit more settled, but that might just be how the replay view is. As you can see, lots of bumps around here. Interesting to see. Obviously, as you said before, it used to be an airfield, did Sebring, so as with a lot of tracks in the UK, most of the tracks in the UK are actually based off airfields. We had a lot of disused airfields lying around after the Second World War, and a lot of people with some cars decided that they wanted to make racetracks out of them. And then I think probably about 60%, as George Barr goes a little bit deep into two on the tail cam view, but probably about 60% of the tracks in the UK are based on disused airfields. Obviously, I think we've done a bit of a better job of smoothing the bumps out than the Americans have, so it's a bit nicer to drive on.
Hold on now. I will not have that. The reason that it's so bumpy on Sebring, it's actually intentional. So I think there was a movement a couple years ago to actually repave the surface, and everybody said no, leave it as it is, because it's possibly its best known feature. If this was a smooth,
these guys would be petitioning for the repave.
I think so. But the real life drivers, they love it here, and I think that if this got fully resurfaced, new asphalt everywhere, it would lose some of its charm, because it is a fantastic layout. I think Sebring is a unique challenge, but if it was all smooth and sort of sedated and all normal, it would just kind of be a a bunch of corners on, in the middle of Florida, and it wouldn't be as much of a challenge for drivers and for cars as it is today. I mean, the 12 hours of Sebring could be it's possibly my favorite racing event uh, of the years.
It is a very cool race event. I just wanted to make a point quickly, just while he's coming through, sort of back onto the bumpier, twistier part of the section. You can see on the wheel there, it's a Cosworth wheel, so it's used in a lot of cars. The little triangle of lights on the tops of either side, and you see the little sort of purpley, sort of white flashing light that comes on. That's whenever the traction control, I believe, is engaged. So just look through this section now and see how much the traction control engages on corner exits. All the way there, it has a big snap, all the way through the mid part of 3 as well. So the traction control really having to cut in and do a lot of the work. Maybe that's a bit of the fix of getting it through those corners, is just turning the traction control cut in a little bit, so it cuts in a bit more aggressively and a bit sooner. But yeah, just a point for whenever we're on board with these cars. You can see how much work the car's having to do to just basically stay in a straight line.
Yeah, the jumps and the bumps, I'm actually interested to see what it looks like coming through Sunset. Granted, they're not really on power, but as soon as it starts big, full on the TC, it's fully engaged through most of third gear, and like coming down the straights as well. You just saw there on that shift up to sixth gear. It's a mix of it jumping in on a gear shift as well as running over that bump as well.
It's natural. It's natural for it to come in on a gear shift anyway, because then it smooths the torque delivery from the gear shift out. Otherwise, the gear shifts get really clunky, and then that's how you can potentially spin the wheels while you're going up the gears. It's a bit of a weird phenomenon, but it can happen, especially with sort of higher horsepower cars. But yeah, it's really having to work overtime around here.
Big time, and this is why I like having you around, Callum. Is you know things that I don't, as far as actual racing machinery. You do in your spare time work on race cars, and I'm incredibly jealous of that fact, and I will continue to be jealous of that fact every day of my life.
I was doing it today, so yeah, I had a fun little recap on a GB4 car to do, just a standard one. It only takes a day. So
real standard. Just working on GB4.
Well, it only done a single day test previously, so there wasn't a big jobs list for it to do. We weren't inspecting gearboxes or anything. And I think tomorrow I've got to look through a bin of parts that have come off a completely crashed car from a Ginetta race in Zandvoort, where the chassis got turned into pretty much a banana. So we have a big bin full of parts that's been waiting for the end of the season to be sorted. And seeing as the other guys are running Ginettas this weekend at Silverstone, actually, for their winter series, running our 3 Ginetta Juniors, we're going through the tub of the crashed one to sort of see what we can salvage and catalogue all the parts and make sure it's all ready and sorted for next season. I know they've got the team that I work for have some big plans for next year with more cars and a new unit as well that we're looking to move to. So it'll be nice to see all that come into fruition with a bit more kit as well to play with. Maybe some new things, new toys. But no, it's always good fun, and helps out a little bit with doing this as well, so you learn a little bit more. But that's off working off a Praga, which had a Cosworth steering wheel. In fact, the F4s also have a Cosworth steering wheel, and so do the British F3, well, GB3. Sorry, it's not called British F3 anymore. GB3 cars as well. Loads and loads of cars use those wheels. They're a little bit different to the ones in the P2s. I think they might be the same as the ones in the P3s. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's a very well-known company, obviously, Cosworth, as Peter Varga's in the pits, I believe.
I believe so. That's a rear wing. Peter Varga. I do believe also, speaking of Cosworth steering wheels, the Cadillac GTP car also uses a Cosworth steering wheel.
It does.
The first time I drove it, tons. It's a great workable wheel, and clearly it can plug and play into just about anything. The first time I drove that car, I think actually I was talking to Cormac. I was like, Cormac, this is just a Cosworth wheel, right? This isn't a Cosworth V8 in the back of this car, would it? That would be incredible, but no, it is after all.
No, they will
just
do
the wheel.
They will do a lot of the engine management systems as well, though, and the ECUs, depending on who the car's made by. If it's made by Bosch, as I'm being told by Cormac, then they won't do that. But they do integrate very well with Bosch ECUs. They sort of all partner up when it comes to things like that, and they use standard pinouts, so it's quite easy to chop and change. But I know for the single seaters in the UK, a lot of them are, I believe, Magneti Marelli ECUs. Depending on what car you have, obviously different cars have different ECUs, and some run aftermarket ones, especially in the realms of classic racing as well. So yeah, who knew that the tangent we're going on today is what cars have what steering wheels and ECUs? But yeah, Thomas Walters has recovered from his qualifying DNF and then recovered from his spin, I think multiple spins, and is now running in fourth. He is 2 laps down though, but as we see, everyone's deciding to overtake Matt Malcolm now.
It seems that Matt's a bit of a roadblock for these cars. The P3s versus the P2s. That's everybody clearing through. That's George Barr has now come into the lead of this race. I'm not even. That's Marco Badowski in the pit lane. That would be why. I wonder why Badowski's pitting. It could be. I mean, we are getting in the closing stages of this race. That car could be running low on fuel. It may be a scheduled stop.
They can't make it on fuel, so
yes, the P2s do not have nearly the range of those P3 cars. Those P3 cars can go an amazing distance. I mean, I feel like you could fuel save it to an hour and a half on a bit of a lower speed circuit if you are able to. No, I think this is a much better tangent than the usual food / condiment based ones we go on. As Maciej Kasprzyk has gone round, that's yet again exit of 2. That's what's doing everybody in. If it's not the entry, it is the exit. Yeah, Kevin Boss spurring you on, Callum, in our chat. Loving the info of the car nut, and I agree.
Oh no, it is 2 going into 3, isn't it?
Yes, that is the exit of 3. Actually, that is. Well, it starts at mid corner of 2. Oh. Gets onto the grass, tires get dirty, but yes, that is turn 3. That is Bishop Corner, which might be the only corner I've yet to name. And I think Maciej there just waiting. He knows these P2 cars are coming. Waiting. Terribly long time.
It's hard to find a gap, especially at the start of the race when we had a few more cars circulating than we did. It's hard to find a gap to get yourself back into. It's, as we said, such a short circuit, only being a couple of miles long, that it must be quite difficult. I don't know if that's a replay of him in the pits, or whether he's in the pits live, but he's in the box currently. But I don't think he gave any damage, unless maybe when they spin they're getting some suspension damage or something, or he had some damage previously that he needed to fix again. But
it could be it could be enough flat spotting of the tires that Maciej decided to go in and put on the quali sets. There are only 2 tire sets that these drivers are allotted for this race, so if you're going to put on new tires, it's going to be those quali set. But Matt Malcolm now sort of, if he keeps this race together, we are only down to the final 11 minutes of this race. He could, he's maybe only 2 laps down, as we're going to see. Actually, he's only 1 lap down. So if Kasprzyk is still in the pit lane when he goes round, Matt Malcolm will be on the same race lap. So if Matt keeps it together, there might be a bit of a race on his hands, but we'll see. Kasprzyk is still in the pit lane. The pit entry is coming up soon. You can see that white line that begins to appear. That is where the pit entry is. The WEC layout uses a different pit entry from the probably slightly better known IMSA layout. But yeah, here Matt Malcolm goes. As you can see, it just clicked from 1 lap to now 50 seconds. I think that Kasprzyk must have had damage. We must have maybe missed that, but he's been in that box for a very long time. Matt Malcolm smiling behind the wheel. Kasprczyk's on pit out. He's going to re-enter the racetrack, but Matt Malcolm's sort of, it's coming to him just a bit. But speaking of race-deciding moments,
I'm wondering if
is still in the pit lane.
Might be getting floor damage from going over curbs or spinning.
I don't believe that floor damage is a thing. as far as I'm aware,
Um,
LMU does not model floor damage. It's rear, front, and side damage and rear wing.
okay.
But also
Hard,
George
hard to
Barr,
tell why you'd need to pit then.
I think George Barr was just briefly in the pits. Is now a fight's happening.
Oh,
No, Malcolm, keep it out of the wall. He keeps it out of the wall. He can do it. All he
we're
has
not
to do
biased.
is get through turn 4. It's an underdog story. After what happened to him earlier in the race, I root for an underdog story always. Matt Malcolm is going to take the lead of this race. Mathieu Kasperchik's actually now out of pit lane. If Matt Malcolm didn't spin there,
This is
he would have been
close.
well clear. It's going to
No,
be
it's clear.
side by side through sunset. Kasperchik's staying out of the way. I think he's on cold tires. He's on ice cold tires for sitting still that long. That car is going to have 0 pace. Matt Malcolm on probably a bit slightly too warm tires after that spin. But Matt Malcolm, for the second time today, is leading this race. I don't know how these drivers managed to do it, but it's a small grid. It happened in round 1. I'm honestly not 100% sure what happened in round 2. I wasn't here. Also, we didn't have a stream, but it also was because I wasn't here. And the lead changed in round 1, I think 4 or 5 times in both classes. And there's only been 10 cars. And I think almost everybody has led the race at some point. Almost everybody has ended up in the wall at some point. I think a spin counter is a good idea.
For the next round, maybe a spin counter.
Possibly,
That's
but
made Kevin
here's
Ross very happy that into the lead.
I think so. But here's the lead for the LMP2 field. I know George Barr, he was briefly in the pits while we were chatting and came out, I think maybe only a second and a half ahead of Marco Badowski. And they're being led now by Michelle Menes Rodriguez, the former race leader who has unlapped themselves. And it's going to be a straight fight between the two of them. I think Badowski probably getting a bit impatient behind Michelle Menes Rodriguez. They're not really.
I wouldn't be happy if I was George here.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. It's
unless you've
sort
got
of
the pace to pull away by a couple of seconds a lap. I'm not sure why they pull over to the side, but I'm not sure why that's taken that long. I think that was quite obvious that those guys were coming through and that there's a battle going on there. I think fair enough if you're unlapping someone who's 30 seconds off the next closest car, but if you're unlapping ahead of a battle and then sitting in front of it, you can't do that.
I agree. It's a frustrating thing. I think Rodriguez, thought they had the pace. They unlapped themselves successfully, but when a car racing you for position comes up behind you, you're going to get the grit between your teeth. And if you weren't going fast enough at the moment, you're going to start going quicker. Nothing gets you moving. Nothing gets you driving to your absolute limit when a race win is on the line. There's Mathieu Kasperchik, who has in the moment of getting those tires warmed up. Oh, that's late for Marco Badowski, but he does actually get it properly slowed down.
Well, until having to let those cars pass, Kasperchik was actually closing on Matt Malcolm. He's lost about a second. I was
going to say,
two P2s go by, but I saw the counter just slowly ticking down by a couple of tenths every couple of seconds or so. So it was closing, and he is still. Yeah, it's gone back now. It was at 7.1. It's already at 6.7. So Malcolm's doing his thing that he said he was going to do, tiptoeing round, but it's whether he can hold on for 6 minutes.
Yeah, if Mathieu Kasperchik can pull out a second, a bit more than a second a lap, the victory will be theirs. Yep. No mistakes from any of these drivers. No mistakes from George Barr. No mistakes from Marco Badowski, who we're hearing, and also I can actually see it as the tires going around. There is a flat spot on that front right. It sort of rolls around and looks briefly square. That's not anything other than a big old square spot on those tires. As drivers, we love to talk about we're driving on squares. That's what happens when a couple of spins, a couple of lockups, and when that happens, of course, it is much easier to lock that tire on that spot, because when you're hitting the brakes, it's naturally going to want to gravitate to the square bit.
Kasper is getting another second on Matt Malcolm while we've been talking there.
Yeah, that gap's going to be ever falling. But at the moment, George Barr managing to stay afront and to have that extra pace. And quickly, before I think the action resumes, I'm gonna let everybody know about what all we got going on here at RCI. A lot's going on. Is simply put, we have 4 weekly series currently running. One of which you're watching. This is our Wednesday champ. It will continue for another couple of weeks. However, next week is a week off. LMU, we've been sort of giving mid-season breaks to our series, so we won't be back for the following week. On Thursday, we'll be continuing the Track Racer Alpine Sim Racing Series, which we host on behalf of Alpine Esports, which they are the ones who broadcast that race. Some of our drivers are in it as well. Some of our good pals, and all those drivers are racing for thousands and thousands of pounds worth of prizes. That grid is already sorted. It was sorted through pre-qualifying a couple weeks ago, but please go out, support that series, support any of your favorite drivers. That's our Thursdays. On Friday, we have the finale of the Multi-Sprint Season 3. That's our LMU multi-class race. We had an absolute stormer of a race. Badowski storming up to the rear of George Barr, seeming very confident in Sector 1. But we had an absolute stormer of a race, literally, because it was storming almost the entire race. One of the most dramatic lap 1 pileups I've seen in LMU. And the finale for that should be great. I think we have fights for the championship in both classes. So hoping for really good stuff there. Mondays, next Monday, the finale of the Audi Academy. One of possibly my favorite series so far that I've gotten to commentate on RCI. It's just been so much fun to watch. That'll be next week. We do have signups available for that. I think you should sign up if you want to race, because it would be fantastic to have a big fat grid of cars for that race next week. We do have possibly a one-off happening this Saturday, the 3 hours of Suzuka on iRacing. We currently don't have enough signups to get that done. So if you do sign up, tell your friends to sign up, and maybe we will run that race this Saturday. And if you want to sign up for any of those championships or check out anything we need to do, join the Discord, anything like that, go over to racerci.com. I got it in enough time. Here's Maciej Kasperczyk on the back of Matt Malcolm. I don't think Matt's get anything to do. He already goes mega defensive going down the Ullman straight, but this is going to be tight. Coming through Sunset here, both the drivers are going to have to be on the exact limit. Matt Malcolm using all of the circuit, hoping to cut back underneath. He does manage to do it, hits that big bump on the exit, but that's impressive. Oh, no! He boxes him into the wall. They touch. Oh, no. But both cars managing to drive. Oh, I'm not really sure what to say about that incident there. Matt Malcolm was, using all of his exit, but the wall comes back towards the circuit, and Maciej didn't have anywhere to go.
I am clenched.
I am extremely clenched, but Matt Malcolm still fighting like a lion through turn 3. Maciej tries to go. Matt Malcolm tries to stay around, runs straight off the circuit, comes back through Le Mans corner. If he's close enough, if he got a good enough exit, he has a toe. Matt Malcolm runs onto the grass. He's flashing out of frustration there. That was really close to neither car finishing that lap there, coming through that Sunset exit. But Matt Malcolm, I think, he doesn't quite have the pace to hang on to Maciej Kasperczyk. But what a final fight for us as they begin the final lap, I do believe, for this race. I think we have a fight. The fight in our P2 field seems to have ended, but I think our P2 fight is still on. George Barr leading Marco Badowski. Is this the final lap? I think this is the final lap. If George Barr can get Sunset correct without an incident, he will have this race. He will have won this race, a topsy-turvy race in the prototype sprint. It's going to be close, but George Barr has it wrapped up crosses the line, wins by a margin of maybe 0.2 of a second. Here come the LMP3 leaders. Next up, Mathieu Kasperchik. Briefly, that was a 3-lap gap that at the end of this race is going to end up being maybe under a second, maybe just over 2 seconds. Matt Malcolm, a brilliant fight, a great drive from both of these cars. It's only a second between them by the end of the race.
Who'd have thought,
And
after everything we've seen, that the collective gap between our two leaders would have been less than a second and a half?
that's incredible. That's
Mental.
that's I mean, considering where George Barr started after turn 2 and where he ended,
Well, even where
a
Badowski
massively
was as
impressive
well.
drive. That's true.
Badowski
Absolutely.
was round and pretty much last as well, further on into the race, and had less time to recover. So I think I would need to lie down. I don't know about you.
I definitely need a lie down. I need a beverage. I need a beer. I didn't have a beer. I know I said I hope everyone has a beer because we're in Florida. I didn't have one. I don't actually really drink all that much, but maybe I'll crack one open today because good lord, it was an exciting start and a super super exciting end to a race. We didn't quite get down to the 50% finish rate that Joe Dauber guessed. It was less cars finishing than I had hoped, but a good drive from everyone that finished. That was, I think, easily one of the most punishing races for drivers that I've seen so far on RCI, so far in LMU. But
If
congratulations
it
to the
if it was
victors.
live stewarded, I think they'd have been probably still going to about lap 5 by now.
I think you might be right. Oh, but no, this is not one of our stewarded categories. That's usually reserved for that's reserved for Monday champs and sometimes our endurance series that will run on ACC. Here's as good as we're going to get as far as results for the race. George Barr winning by a margin that couldn't be measured in seconds. It had to be measured in tenths. I think it was 2 tenths as they crossed the line. Marco Badowski putting up a mighty fight to the end. Both these drivers leading the race at one point or another. And Rodriguez, Michelle Menace Rodriguez, a tough race for sure. Leading after turn 1, not necessarily being able to capitalize on the quick driver being George Barr getting spun around at the very beginning, having struggles of their own. Thomas Walters, the car that kicked it off, they kicked off the beginning of the race a bit deep into turn 2, if we're honest, causing a bit of a chain reaction of cars, but managing to get up to 4th position. Jelmer Maluma, a name that neither of us could say, and I even couldn't say when I was told how, finished in 5th place. And Peter Varga is our 6th and final LMP2 finisher. Finishing, well, there's really no way to say this nicely, finishing behind the P3 cars, 52 laps when most of these the leaders did 61. So a struggle there for Peter Varga, but crossed the line, got some points. Everything helps in this championship race. Any race that you can finish is one to be proud of. And our two finishers, Mathieu Kasperchik and Matt Malcolm, a lightning fight towards the end. I think both of these drivers thinking at one point or another, oh, I've got this race sewn up. Matt Malcolm was about to be leading over Joe Dauber, got murdered, quite frankly. Mathieu Kasperchik having their own struggles, but an excellent finish to a smaller grid race, but extremely good stuff. Extremely good stuff. Callum, are you excited for next week? Because I'm actually no, you're not here next week.
I'm
You're
not here
leaving
next
me.
week. I'm.
Don't you wish you were here though?
I now wish I was here. I don't know why I'm not here next week.
Well, if you're here, you can join us. If you're not, it's
I'm
okay.
free. I don't know why I'm not here next. I should be here next
All
week.
right, Callum Kerwin will
I
be
know
here
we're
next
doing Monday
week.
together. I know we're doing Monday together. I believe I'm
Correct.
free next week. Oh no, it's because we
Well,
have a week off. So the 12th.
that's right.
That's why it's not next week. The week after next. I'm
We
away.
have to wait.
I'm going to Amsterdam.
Ooh, well,
So
that's
yeah,
fantastic.
I know,
And I'm
very
just being
fancy.
impatient. I wish we weren't taking a week off.
I wish we weren't
That's
taking a week off because I'd like to commentate on that again.
Well, hey, at least we have Monday, and Monday's going to be great because
Monday's
it's
going to
the
be a spicy
finale.
one.
It's going to be big spicy. I think the championship's down now between I think Nico Kumbu's actually still leading the championship. He might not be actually. I don't know. I didn't check the results. It was a blinder of a race this past Monday. Yet again, unable to broadcast that. Issues outside of our control. But if all goes well, fingers and toes crossed, we'll be with you on Monday for our next RCI event. And what a race to end the week on. I'm saying to end the week on. We have Friday. What am I talking about? We have the finale of the multi sprint series. I'm just full of issues here today. But yes, we have our finale of the multi sprint series. That one's going to be a good one as well. I'm not sure, Callum, if you're joining me there either. Maybe,
Let me
perhaps.
check. Uh,
We are
multi-sprint,
checking.
I'm not down for, so I don't believe so.
Well, are you here?
Uh,
No one's down for it at the moment. By the by, so if you
no,
committed right now on broadcast, no one can stop you.
no, I'm not. I am doing a seat fit on a Delara. Um,
Okay, that
I,
sounds that
knew
sounds that
I knew
sounds
I
kind
was
of fun.
busy on Friday, but I couldn't remember what it was for, and I'm doing a seat fit, so I'm not at home that evening because that will
Well,
take a long time.
that does actually sound pretty cool, though. I see. I have to settle for virtual cars because no one will let me near a real one because they're afraid I'll break it, and they're probably right.
Oh, they
There's a
should be
reason I
quite
don't even
lightweight.
drive. Well, there's a reason I don't drive the virtual cars either. It's because I break those as well.
I
But
think we should both do the Porsche Championship because you know,
you'll have to
I think we should
you'll have
both
to.
do it.
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll have
You'll have to
discussions in the
talk me into that.
background.
You might. Yes, you might have to bribe me for that one. But
We
that
can fight for a
championship won't
wooden
be
spoon.
starting still till the 17th. So we got plenty
Plenty
of
of
time to
time.
talk me into it, and I got plenty of time to talk me out of it. But folks, that brings an end of round three of the prototype sprint series to a close. We're not here next week, but the following week we'll have a fierce fight, hopefully a fierce fight at the LaSalle Short Circuit, one of my favorite short circuits that exist. It is a mighty good time. Hopefully, a little bit less of a struggle than this one was, a lot less bumps, but a lot more prototype action. We do have plenty of rooms in sign up. We have plenty of room for signups in this championship. Wednesday's a tricky day for a lot of people, but if you're free, I expect to see you on the list. I expect to see you in the car. Sign up in the LMP3 cars. They're lonely and it looks like some fantastic racing just for the few of them. So imagine how good it would be if we had a few more. And obviously, of course, before we go, I got to give a shout out to our partners again. Wonderful, wonderful people. Ready, Set, Sim for all your sim rig building needs. Coach Dave Delta for all your car setup and coaching you could ever need and you could ever want. Green Man Gaming for the best savings on PC games. Moser Racing for high quality, well priced sim racing and flight gear. Pimax for all your extremely high resolution and extremely high quality class leading VR needs. And of course, can't thank them enough, Motorsport UK, for having us as a recommended community. And one more quick reminder for all the stuff we got going on at RCI. Mondays, we got our Audi Academy, and then it will be the Porsche Cup Series starting November 17th, I believe. Get your signups in for that. Wednesdays, we have this championship in all of its janky, goofy glory. On Thursdays, we have the Track Racer Alpine Sim Series. And on Friday, well, this Friday, we have the finale of the Multi Sprint Season 3. Perhaps another Multi Sprint season will follow that. We shall see, not quite announced yet. But that is then. And
Just a quick
this,
one as well to
go
speak
on.
about the Porsche Cup Series, the sign-ups are over on SimGrid, not on the RCI website. So just if you're looking there, jump in the Discord, and the link to the SimGrid is posted in the relevant channel in the Discord. Do not try and find it on the RCI website because you can't sign up for it on there.
Thank you for that. Actually glad you told me that because I would have gone and looked in the wrong place and not signed up. Wait, that could have been another excuse for why I wouldn't do it. Dang it, Callum. Way to be thinking ahead. And thank you for the reminder. But of course, all of our info for most of our championships is on racerci.com. That also has info for how to join our Discord. Please join our Discord. There's so many wonderful people here, and more wonderful people is never a bad thing. And that obviously will have links to SimGrid for the further information about signups. And just please sign up. Sign up for everything. Do racing always. I would, but I'm too slow, and I'm better suited in the box. And of course, I've been Jack Mays, joined in this box that I'm stuck in by Callum Kerwin. We've both been kept in line by our wonderful broadcaster, Cormac Malloy. Thank you for being here. Call your mom, wear your seatbelt. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you all soon.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control.